And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Out to Dan Gaynor joining us from the Media Research Center. Dan, good morning.
Good morning. It's always good to be back in Boise.
Indeed. Of course, you've got family here in the Treasure Valley. What's the weather like in D.C.?
Oh, it's actually trying to decide if it wants to be spring. It's pretty outside, but it went down into the 30s yesterday, so it's creeping towards spring and toward baseball season.
Just around the corner. I suppose we should begin with the media circus that was emanating from the city of Chicago yesterday. Yeah,
I mean, it's pick your media circus. I'm, of course, watching Brian Stelter defend Jussie Smollett when what we're looking at is a great example of privileged liberal elite reality in America. You can be an ordinary schmo and get charged with a traffic violation and end up paying more money and serving more time than Jussie Smollett. But that's because you're not black, gay, liberal, anti-Trump, and a Hollywood celeb.
It's just crazy. Even Rahm Emanuel coming out calling it a whitewash of justice.
Well, I can't tell if Rahm Emanuel is being honest or not because he's Rahm Emanuel, and he seemed frustrated by it. But on a day where I was also tweeting out positive things about Steny Hoyer, you reach a point where the world is tilted on its axis just a little bit too much, and you go, well, maybe he's just playing political games for future opportunity. I don't know, but it's not going to hurt you too much in Chicago to blast liberal Hollywood that got away with something through corrupt Chicago. It's important to remember that almost every major city in America is run by the left, has been run by the left for decades, and is corrupt. And so, this is what happens when you have one-party government. I would say if it was flipped around, I would say you'd probably have corruption. But the difference is you only have one political party generally running the urban areas of America, and then we look at all the problems that we have in the urban areas of America, and you wonder why.
Indeed, when we take a look at this, Dan Gaynor joining us at the Media Research Center, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Let's go on to the event that didn't happen, the indictment of Donald Trump.
Oh, this is the greatest media failure since the last major media failure. The liberal media falsely told America that Donald Trump couldn't get elected. They failed at that so miserably after failing, by the way, at the Brexit vote. They failed at that and then turned right around and said, oh, well, how can we take him down? Oh, well, let's push this false narrative of Russian collusion. And it's gone from being this crazy narrative to what we've now called collusion delusion syndrome, or CDS. And that they all perhaps need their little teddy bears and their little blankies and such. So we even created care packages for some of the top CDS sufferers that we could identify. Some of the people in the media, including the aforementioned Brian Stelter, a few people on Capitol Hill, because they need help.
Indeed. It's amazing that they won't let this go.
They're not just not letting it go. This is going to spin off from one investigation that was bogus into who knows how many. I'm sure in Vegas there's an over-under for how many investigations there will be as a result of this. But the Democrats, they've decided they can't, some of them have decided they can't impeach Donald Trump right now because it would fail. And they don't want to do something where it looks just political. As Nancy Pelosi has said, they want to make sure that they can go after Donald Trump in a bipartisan way. And Mueller did not give them that power, despite the press already saying, well, let's quibble about what Barr said. Oh, wait, we haven't seen the report yet. Oh, remember when BuzzFeed falsely reported what Mueller was doing? Mueller came right out and said BuzzFeed was phony and responded. Do you think he'd allow them to misrepresent what's in his report? No. I mean, it's ludicrous. But they're like 9/11 truthers.
Indeed. Our great friend Dan Gaynor joining us, Media Research Center. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Of course, Dan cites one of them, newsbusters.org, that we and so many people use, and we're so grateful for the Media Research Center making sure that we have the up-to-date, accurate information that we're not getting from the media. It's amazing to me that we, like you said, Dan, that these reports, the Mueller report is going to launch more and more reports. This can't be good for our republic.
No, and I think the press and the media in general, because that includes Hollywood, I think they have really harmed the republic. Free press should help a republic. It really should. I mean, I think free press should be foundational to our freedom. But in reality, they all work for one political party. They all push the narratives of one political party, and they have become so berserk and so insane that it's no longer the liberal political party dragging along the media or using the media to push their agenda. It's now the reverse. It's now the media using the liberal political party to push their agenda.
Well, especially when you see the reaction, the real-world reaction of what happened to the new Green Deal or the new Green Deal or the Green New Deal or whatever you want to call it being introduced in the Senate yesterday.
Yeah, just let's call it what it really is, the Red New Deal.
Huh.
And I really want to take off my hat to Senator Mike Lee, who his little floor speech about the Green New Deal was so epically hilarious that you really have to look forward. If you've seen the image of Ronald Reagan riding the Velociraptor, he has a big image of that during his speech, a big image of Aquaman. I mean, it's priceless. Mike Lee, a hardcore conservative, just skewering AOC. But here is the point that the press has no courage to make. On one hand, the left in our country tells us we have 12 years to live, 12 years before cataclysm occurs. Now, they've been telling us that for decades. There's an AP article I could share with people dating back to 1989 where the UN was warning that we had 12 years. And they just keep hitting the reset button when they don't get what they want. It's like the old guy goes in the doctor's office, and doctor says, got 3 months to live, and I get a second opinion. Okay, got 6 months to live. The idea that they can just keep changing the date, it's bogus. but the right. The press doesn't care. The press they won't hold these dates to they won't actually count the timeline. Okay, well you guys said cataclysm was going to strike in 10 years. And it's 10 years later, and no, by the way, we didn't get any cataclysm. No, they say, what they do is point to every single weather event. And we get weather events. We get horrible storms, horrible floods, like was going on in the Midwest, horrific floods. But we've had floods in the Midwest before. We get storms. Remember Al Gore would, promise that we'd have massive storms after Katrina. And we haven't. The idea that the tornadoes would get worse, when in fact tornadoes killed fewer people last year than they had any year since we've been tracking them, and we've been tracking them since Ulysses S. Grant was president. So they don't want us to be skeptical, but the whole concept of science is to be skeptical. You're supposed to say, okay, you made a claim, and you're supposed to be able to reproduce this in science. That's the whole essence of science. Okay, if I say the sun comes up in the east and the sun comes up in the west one day, well, then I'm going to change my theorem. So if you keep making claims, we're going to have more deadly storms, and then your analysis doesn't take into account that we went from being a nation of 100 million people to a nation of 328 million people who live a lot on the coast. Oh, well, Why would we count that? Well, because that impacts your results, you idiot. And so the press just do such a horrible job. And, in essence, we can't get honest answers. We can't get honest answers to why does NASA modify the temperature record? It does. It admits it does. Why does it do it? And why does it do it not just in current time, but it goes back in time and modifies the temperature record? Well, it's manipulating the results so it gets the result you want. Well, if you can modify the data, I can guarantee you can come up with the result you want of any research. That's if the American press were at all honest, they'd ask questions like that. They'd FOIA NASA. So you dig through and this is exactly what we're doing. We've modified the temperature record this much, and we've done this and this. They don't want to know because it's not about climate. It is about climate justice. And climate justice means just us giving our money to the third world so that the left can feel good about their social justice causes.
Well, and, it's gone way over from reporting anymore. It's indoctrination.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been indoctrination for a long time where you push a narrative, but it's gotten to the point now where you can't find honest press about an issue. You can't. I'll look at a story and I'll immediately assume, based on how I see the story written, that I've got to go back and try to find the original report or the original video to question. And who has the time to do that for everything?
Well, thankfully we have
Donald Trump said such and such. Well, do I trust the narrative in that? No. So you go back and look, he didn't really say that. Remember the Nikki Haley story?
Right.
It's
Michael
not
Wolff.
climate change, but it was so fraudulent, and it came right from the New York Times, where they said Nikki Haley spent more than $50,000 in curtains for her UN office. And that it was headlined that way. They had a photo that way. The first 6 paragraphs of the story said that. And then you get to the next paragraph and it says, oh, by the way, these were ordered during the Obama administration. And, how uncredible can you be when you do that? And the only reason that didn't become a major national story attacking Nikki Haley is because that story was stopped on Twitter. This is what people don't see in these sort of behind-the-scenes battles. But so many people criticized the story on Twitter that the New York Times backed down from its allegation, and the story didn't really become a big blip.
Dan Gainor, outstanding as always, sir.
Oh, it's always fun to talk to you, and it's fun to be heard by my fam out there, although I imagine they're a little bit sleepy time right now.
Well, Dan,
and a special shout out to my brother. I don't talk about my family that much, but my brother has been a captain in the Boise Fire Department for many years, and he's retiring this week. And so, anybody knows Tom Gainor, thank him for all of his service this week.
well, we thank him, and we know he'll enjoy retirement here.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think he'll be really that much of a lazy bum. He's not his nature. So that means he's probably just going to do something else.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Dan Gainor joining us from the Media Research Center. A couple things going on locally, by the way. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM. This big brouhaha over the legislature, this initiative concerning the initiative process. It's going to be the toughest in the nation because you have a Democratic operative who's also a Concordia Law School student putting together a report, and the media runs with it. You also have the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, is it? Let me make sure I get my facts right. Since we just got a lecture from our great friend Dan Gainor on the media getting its facts straight, you've got a group saying that they have disinvited the lieutenant governor because of the decisions that she made. And you know something, if a group does not want you to be at an event, then you shouldn't be there if they don't welcome you. But to me, it seems more like a cheap shot at the lieutenant governor. We'll explain that coming up at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And really, you have to wonder, and it's getting a lot of media attention, this initiative legislation, that it's, just because somebody says it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And by the way, our great friend David Leroy's come out against this initiative as well. I go back to what Senator Gross said. He won me with this one, where he said this bill will prevent us from becoming just like California and Oregon. And let's face it, no one in Idaho wants to be California or Oregon. That's why the people from California and Oregon are moving here. So we'll get our story straight on the lieutenant governor. We'll talk about this initiative thing. And, oh, yes, just in case you're having trouble waking up this morning, we'll give you a little AOC.
That when we talk about the concern of the environment as an elitist concern, 1 year ago, I was waitressing in a taco shop in downtown Manhattan. I just got health insurance for the first time a month ago. This is not...
There we have it. And Rayamaya, judge this to make sure that I'm not offensive, because we don't want to be offensive on talk radio anymore. We can't be offensive anymore. Isn't she just the perfect example of the American dream? She was working at a taco stand, tending bar, and now she's on the cover of Time magazine, called a phenom. Anybody can do anything. Do we have that clip one more time? Let's see if we can play it.
Talk about the concern of the environment as an elitist concern. 1 year ago, I was waitressing in a taco shop in downtown Manhattan. I just got health insurance.
There you have it. From taco waitress to congressman, the American dream is alive today. Unfortunately, not the Green New Deal. Waking up on the right side. Thank you for joining us. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Boom! Good morning. I think it's a boom, boom, boom day, whatever that means. Kevin Miller in the morning. Blessed to be with you on the same station as Sean Hannity. Man, Sean is doing incredible work. Catch him today at 3. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Everett.
What is that old movie, He's Really Not That Into You? And that's the advice I would give Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin. Currently, and I don't know if this is really a story, but it kind of percolated my interest last night when I was listening to it on the news. The Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has dropped the state's Republican lieutenant governor from the list of speakers for Women Entrepreneurs Conference next month. Chamber CEO Diane Bevan told the Idaho Press, why is it always like the Idaho Press? Isn't that the home of Betsy Russell? The Idaho Press? Whatever. That Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin is no longer speaking after the chamber board voted to modify the conference agenda. Bevan says the chamber does not support events that could be perceived as having a political bias. Well, think about this for a minute. Just take a minute. Here you have Idaho's highest elected official in the state. Ran statewide and won. She's a female, right? And all of a sudden, what? She's disinvited from an event? Well, I would say this to the lieutenant governor. If they don't want you there, it's their loss. It's their right not to have you there. Better that they disinvite you, but do so quietly. Why make it how should I put this? Why make it a press release and then try to make it a story because of the non-story involving Janice McGeachin's support for people that are imprisoned by the government, right? McGeachin faced backlash last month after she posted a photo on Facebook with herself and members of an anti-government group. Now, I know the folks that are in the Idaho 3%, the real 3%, these people train, they love America. And in America today, you can still be critical of the government without being anti-government. It's a shame that this story was posted this way as anti-government. And what did she give? She gave the OK sign. Now, some people say now the OK sign is a white supremacist sign. I don't know that. I see it all the time. In fact, it's the symbol for the number 3. And because I'm a little old and curmudgeon-y, I can't do the old 3 sign anymore. My fingers just won't bend that way. I do that. So I apparently, according to some people, that's bad. So she was posted with that. Then you have the governor saying, well, you've got to be responsible for what you do. She was supporting people that stood up for their rights. Now you have this group saying, we don't want to have the highest ranking female elected official in the state. To me, it's their loss. To me, I think it's a loss to anybody when you disinvite the lieutenant governor or the governor for political reasons. You can't tell me that the chamber's agenda was not political. And here's another thing. Whatever happened to dissenting views? See, and again, not specifically talking about the chamber here, but you have people, you have groups that want to silence Kevin Miller, Janice McGeachin, Sean Hannity, and others because they fear traditional American values. And again, I'm not talking about the chamber specifically. Mark that down. Those of you monitoring that can slander me on the web, which has happened many times. I'm saying that you have individuals and groups that make up things. They don't want to be involved in politics. To me, having the lieutenant governor there, and maybe you ask questions about the controversy, furthers the dialogue. But the devious little libs, the lefties, they don't want that. They seek to eradicate people like the lieutenant governor, like Kevin Miller, like Sean Hannity, because they don't agree with him, which is a tragedy. It's the ignorance of the left in this case. Okay, that's a little heavy here so early in the morning. We are chasing Representative Giddings. Hopefully we'll get her. We have Tom Munns. That's right, Tom Munns will join us in the 8 o'clock hour from TomMunns.com, Munns Tom Twitter. We've booked him, and we will go toe-to-toe with him. Mark Meckler will join us talking about the Convention of States, so we're going to get both sides of the issue. Mr. Meckler will join us in the 7 o'clock, Tom Munns in the 8 o'clock. And coming up next, the death of the new Green Deal. And do you really care about this initiative bill? I'm going to tell you why it's much ado about nothing next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
And coming up, we'll discuss the ballot initiative bill. Or if that's boring, we'll go somewhere else. I don't know. Much to do about this. I would have loved to have seen the attention more on the grocery tax. It's great that the teachers got their pay raise. It's great that apparently the hemp legislation will pass. Yeehaw. Let's all smoke some hemp, everybody. And this ballot initiative bill is getting so much attention. Quite frankly, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I don't think it really impacts most of us. If you have big money, you get it on the ballot. If you don't, you don't. Let's go to Aaron in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning. I missed that. What was Governor Little's comment about Janice McGeachin?
Paraphrasing it, you have to be careful for, held accountable or careful for whatever you are photographed in, something like that.
Okay, so it was a kind of a paraphrase. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, even with that, I think he should absolutely defend Janice. I'm afraid my initial gut instinct about him is maybe correct. He appears to be kind of a fake and weak. He should be supporting Janice. And there's nothing wrong with the 3% people. They're good people.
Yeah, I don't understand this whole thing about we're going to disinvite her and then we're going to do a press release on it. And I think to myself, okay, you don't want the lieutenant governor there, then do it privately. Why make it a big deal unless you're trying to embarrass her? Yeah,
and also too, I mean, Little claims to be holding up the mantle of Trump, but he should just come right out and fight the Idaho press and, the people that are dogging Janice. It's the Trumpian thing not to back down, and I think that's what Little's doing.
Well, here, I think I have the story, so I don't misquote the governor here. No, I don't have it, but, the lieutenant governor is not part of the in crowd. She does. Which is
a good thing,
right? I'm with you, but she's not a part of the crew there, and neither really is Congressman Fulcher. But you have, the establishment. They're trying to work with her and such. On the other hand, I think that you can tell who's in and who isn't, and she's definitely not an in crowd.
Yeah. Well, I don't like the good old boys. We need to get rid of them, and I'm not happy with Little. All right. Thanks. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Aaron, thank you. And again, in all fairness to the governor, I don't know the exact quote, but something along the lines, you have to be cognizant of your surroundings and be accountable for your pictures. Look, it's kind of like the person that doesn't want to hire you. Whether you're the members of this of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or anybody else that disinvited the lieutenant governor, that is their right, their choice. You have to go, as I tell young people, every day in this business or in other businesses, and it took me years to figure this out. You have to go where you're wanted. You have to go where you're appreciated. And if this group doesn't want the lieutenant governor there, then I think they missed out. And I love this, that without a political agenda, she's a politician. She's a public servant. Everybody has a political agenda. And it's just like saying that everybody, no one is into sales. Sales is everywhere. Whether you're trying to convince your spouse, your kids, your boss, your friends to do something, it's all about the sale. Anyway, it just kind of seems strange to me that this would be a big story. And really, to me, it's designed to embarrass the lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor has a lot of places to go. She's a very popular young lady. I'm sure she'll find the time. All right, moving right along, we've got this big story going on about the initiative bill, right? The initiative bill that's going to kill the initiative process and, all these requirements. And our friends at Channel 7, almost 6 minutes on this thing last night. You know how in local news, how long 6 minutes is? It's a lifetime. It's almost, a fifth, a fourth of the entire, it's even more. It's a seventh of it, considering there's only 22 minutes when you take out the commercials. Anyway, do you really care about this ballot initiative bill? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. First of all, I like what Senator Gross said. Let's not make this California. Let's not make it Oregon. Let's not let the big money libs come in, put money into the pot, and then get these initiatives on the ballot. My point being, and people are going to say, well, Kevin, it denies the citizens their rights to do anything. Yeah, you have a point there to a degree. Tell me, please, anyone that is troubled by this story that the news media has garnered onto because we can't do another story about a new stoplight on Chinden Boulevard, so we'll cover the legislature while they're here to make it seem like they're relevant. Tell me, when's the last time a grassroots initiative made its way on the ballot here? For those of you that weren't here, and I have a limited history in this state, I'll out myself there. We had the referendum on education overturns Prop 1, 2, and 3. There was big money behind that. That wasn't just a group of grassroots folks. They were organized. They spent money. They hired an out-of-state political consultant. There was big money there. Okay? Prop 1, this time around, the horse racing. They didn't spend enough money, and they didn't have the proper story, the gaming machines. Now, horse racing is done in this state. Number 2, Medicaid expansion. They had a ton of big money from the medical industrial complex, plus they had the message that we're leaving money on the table, that there's a money tree in Washington, and we Idahoans were not picking our fair share of the fruit or the leaves, however the money tree works. So really what this bill is designed to do is it goes from 18 months to get it on the ballot to 6 months. And we can go over the bill, and we'll play the story from the new reporter on Channel 7 to give you the objective facts. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I believe Senator Groh has a point. You know, it's funny because somebody said, hey, can Senator Groh have your phone number? I said, sure. And we haven't heard from him, and that's fine. And he's taken a lot of heat for this. And then there's a big story yesterday. Republicans broke ranks. Why do they break ranks? When's the last time, A, a grassroots initiative got a fair hearing in this state, and B, any type of initiative was a Republican initiative in this state that didn't make it on the ballot? So to me, it just seems like, again, the libs are spinning up the news media to create a story out of nothing. And I can tell by the way you're reacting, it's not moving the needle. On the other hand, in the issue of public service here on KIDO Talk Radio, let's get a little background and see if it resonates. If not, thankfully, we'll move on.
Of Senate Bill 1159 include former Idaho Attorney General David Leroy.
The practical effect of this bill would be to kill the initiative process in Idaho, in my opinion.
Leroy and other critics say if passed, the bill would make it tougher to get voter initiatives on the ballot. The bill would increase the amount of signatures required from 6% to 10% of registered voters. It also nearly doubles the number of legislative districts where those signatures must come from 18 to 32 of Idaho's 35 districts. The bill would also reduce the time to gather signatures from 18 to 6 months.
You certainly, arguably, make Idaho among the most difficult, if not the most difficult, state in the union to pass an initiative.
A report put together by a Concordia law student comes to the same conclusion.
What you're doing is you're asking campaigns to gather twice as many signatures in twice as many places in a third of the time. And that's just really unfeasible for most grassroots campaigns.
Colin Nash works with the Idaho State Senate Democrats.
Of course he does. And it's a brilliant report. I'm glad that the state Democrats are relying on a law school student to make that happen. And Mr. Collin there should be commended. On the other hand, I'm looking at this going, where's the other side of the story here? Look, we don't want everybody coming in from these states changing everything. And common sense would dictate. Bottom line is, when's the last time anything without big money made it onto the ballot? It didn't. Remember what happened to the state of Colorado? Reliably red, and then, no kidding, two big money libs came in and flipped the entire state blue. Now it's purple. We don't want that to happen here. Pete in Mountain Home with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, good morning, and thank you for bringing this subject up. The way the initiative process works now is you have to get 18 of the 35 legislative districts to sign, like 6,000 signatures, or 6% of the registered voters. What that means is you go to the big cities and the university towns, and you've got 19 legislative districts, and you get to ignore rural Idaho. You don't see those initiatives being passed around even in Mountain Home. You don't see it at any of the small towns in Idaho. And what this current bill will do is it will make them go to the rural counties and get people there to agree it's a good idea. And that gives most of Idaho that is ignored, it gives us a chance to at least participate in that process. And what's going on right now, you look at initiatives, like you said, Washington, Oregon, you've got Bloomberg, you've got the big money on the left coming in and hiring signature collectors to do this stuff. And we got to stop that.
Well, that's a great point. Because in Oregon, they're putting the mushrooms on the ballot.
Yep, and you know where the money from that is coming from. It's coming from the left.
No, I agree. And I thought Senator Groh's sound clip, hey, we don't want this to be Oregon or California, was brilliant. I don't know why anybody would vote against this thing. And Pete, let's face it, if there's big money behind it, it gets on the ballot. Do you know the last time a truly grassroots effort got on the ballot here?
No, I cannot think of one.
It doesn't happen.
And all the legislature, I think, is really trying to do is what he said. We don't want to make this Oregon and California, and we want to give people in the rural counties, the small towns of Idaho, at least some say in how their lives are going to be affected by this kind of crud.
And it is crud. Pete, thank you for waking up on the right side.
Well, thank you for having us, Kevin. Let's hear it for KIDO. Hey, better than coffee in the morning.
Let's hear it from Mountain Home, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Thank you to Ray Amaya, who's correcting me, and it's always good that Ray Amaya sticks to the facts here. Aaron in Nampa, if you're still listening, here's what the governor said about the lieutenant governor. I discussed the issue with the lieutenant governor. All of us must be accountable for our actions and their implications, and I trust her to do the same. This was in result to, again, the non-story where you had the 3%ers and the lieutenant governor posing with them. But the people in the press like to stir things up because that's what they do, just like their acolytes in the national media. Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. And we're joined by Representative Christy Zito. Representative Zito, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Boy, I don't know what we're going to do when the legislature's open. We sure appreciate you on in.
I can still call. I'm not going away. I'm not leaving the state. Maybe to see my daughter in Colorado or something, but I'll be back.
Well, we appreciate it. So what brings you to our humble breakfast table this morning?
Well, my gosh, Kevin, could you have a more full plate? There's a plethora of things to talk about. I guess I want to start with saying that I fully support our lieutenant governor. I don't see that she did anything wrong. You can interpret a hand signal however you choose to, or a sign or whatever, however you choose to. That's up to you. That's an interpretation thing. She's genuine. She supports everyone. Everywhere you go, if you go somewhere with her or you're in the Capitol with her, she's always posing to have her picture taken with people. I've never seen her look at someone and say that she wouldn't. She's just gracious and genuine, and it's unfortunate that a group would single her out that way in such a public way. And it's just very, very unfortunate because if you really look at it in the grand scheme of things, it couldn't be more reverse discrimination than that, seriously. And then I wanted to visit a little bit about the initiative thing. Sometimes, Kevin, there's stuff that will come to us that you really struggle with, and I struggled with this up until the very second I had to cast my vote. I've never seen anything this year where there are so very, very many good, intelligent, bright people who are on both sides of an issue. And I finally decided to support the initiative issue because if you really look at it, Kevin, every citizen in the state of Idaho has a voice, and that's your representative that you vote for. And if you look at the process that we go through to create law, I come up with typically if citizens come to me and say, this is what we would like to see changed. So I go to LSO and I have the idea drafted so that it's legal language and fits code and statute and everything. And then I own that. And then I have to take it to a committee. And on my state affairs committee that I serve on, there are 15 members. And those 15 members on average represent around 40,000 people. So there is the voice of 600,000 people on that committee who will decide if my idea deserves to be heard. And I have to present it to them, and then they get to decide if I get a print hearing, we call it. So that means that half of those people, I have to have a majority vote to get a print hearing. So 300,000 voices in the state of Idaho get to say that I get a print hearing.
Now we're short on time, so if you can get us in about 40
so
seconds.
Wrap it up. Okay, so what I'm saying is we have a representative government in place. And if you are not happy with the representation that you have, go out and vote. Change your representative. And just like we saw with the Proposition 2, big money comes into the state. Big money will come in and target. They cherry pick where they're going to get those signatures. And our rural areas are losing their voice. And that's the biggest reason, Kevin, that I supported that. And, I would be glad to come back on and talk about other issues with you at some time, so I'll just keep it short. And I just wanted to make some clarification there on that. Again, like I said, good people on both sides.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kevin.
Our great friend, Representative Kristi Zitto, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.